We are just over 2 weeks away from a potential government shutdown. Congress is facing a September 30th deadline to cut a deal to fund the government. House Speaker Mike Johnson saying the House GOP whip is going to be working through the weekend to build consensus among Republicans on a continuing resolution. Johnson was forced to delay a scheduled vote on Wednesday for his plan that would have provided federal funding until the end of March after GOP opposition. He linked the SAVE Act to the stopgap bill, which, if passed, would help secure upcoming elections by preventing non-citizens from voting. I want to bring in New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew. He is a member of the House Judiciary and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. And Congressman Van Drew, where do you stand now after Johnson pulled that vote? He obviously knew that he didn't have the votes and that he needed Democratic support.
Well, I was sad to see that the vote had to be pulled. Let me be clear. Continuing resolutions are not the answer to our budget woes. They're not the answer for the future. However, at this point in time, we're going to need to do one. But we can't just do a continuing resolution business as usual. And I think this was a really good compromise. Put the SAVE Act in with it, and for those that are listening and watching out there, all the SAVE Act says is that those who are not legal citizens in the United States of America cannot vote in federal elections. It's that simple. Every Democrat and every Republican should be for it. However, the vast majority of Democrats do not support that, which leads you to believe that they feel that illegals should be able to vote in federal elections. That's wrong. So what we did is say, okay, we're doing a continuing resolution, not perfect, but we're going to put the SAVE Act in there, drive that home, and at least get that done. Unfortunately, we have such a narrow majority, we still don't have complete consensus. We have to have just about every single Republican on board, and that's what we're going to be working on over the weekend.
But we've had some of your colleagues on the program throughout the week to cover this issue of the CR, and one telling me that, look, it's political suicide for us to try to push for a government shutdown. So we cannot shut the government down. It is an election year, which does make sense to many members who are facing tough races in their districts. The other side of this is that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has said that this is a poison pill. I'm sure you disagree with that language from him, but they are saying we will kill this. It will not go anywhere, and they're going to just kick it back to you. If they kicked it back without the SAVE Act attached, say that the House passes it, the GOP finds consensus this weekend, it goes to the Senate, they kick it back, then what? Plan B is what I'm asking about here.
Again here, well, we're not going to shut down government. Let me be clear. Nobody wants to shut down government, okay? The vast majority of Republicans do not want to shut down government. However, I mean, shame on us if we don't put the SAVE Act in there. If the Democrats consider that a poison pill, so they consider it poison to say that illegals should not be able to vote in federal elections. So what they are saying, if you follow that through, is illegals should be able to vote. Let them do that. Let them say that. Let them vote on that. And if they do that, then the bill is going to come back without the SAVE Act, and members are going to have to decide what they're going to do. Without the SAVE Act, all the Democrats pretty much will vote for it. And I think probably maybe half of the Republicans will. Okay. But that's the bottom line. Shame on us if we don't do this.
Okay. All right. Well, we shall see what happens this weekend, obviously. A Georgia judge, by the way, dismissing...
We will.
2 criminal counts. I know you're going to be working on 3 on this. 2 criminal counts against former President Trump in his 2020 election interference case. So Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee ruled that Georgia prosecutors had no authority to bring the charges related to the alleged filing of false documents in federal court. But in a separate decision yesterday, he upheld the racketeering charge in the case. Now, Trump has pleaded not guilty to all of these counts, Congressman Van Drew. I want to get your reaction to these decisions yesterday.
It's just part of the process that we've seen here. And what the process is, we know that they are just weaponizing the judiciary. Fani Willis ran on saying that she was going to go after Donald Trump. Imagine that. Somebody who's supposed to be objective and doing their job within the judicial system. But we're going to see one by one that these things are going to fall. He has now been having victory after victory, and that's going to continue. They are weaponizing the judiciary, and they even weaponize criticized the Justice Department, the federal Justice Department in the past. Understand this. They will do anything and everything they can. They tried impeachment and they failed. They've tried taking them off the ballot and they failed. They tried using the judiciary. They tried indicting them. They did indict them, but it didn't stop them. They tried convicting them, but it didn't stop them. All these cases are going to go down the tubes ultimately.
All right. I do want to ask you about, obviously, the very busy week that we have had politically. So now we're hearing from the former president. He's ruling out another debate with Vice President Harris. Now, here's what he wrote on Truth Social yesterday. When a prize fighter loses a fight, the first words out of his mouth are, "I want a rematch." Kamala should focus on what she should have done during the last almost 4-year period. There will be no third debate. Now, she's calling for the candidates to meet one more time before the election. Here she is in North Carolina.
I believe we owe it to the voters to have another debate, because this election and what is at stake could not be more important.
Congressman, do you think that Donald Trump should debate her again?
Certainly that's up to the president. Frankly, I think he should just keep going out to the people now with straight talk, and that's what he's doing. That debate was very simple. She was smooth. She was slick. She certainly practiced a tremendous amount, but nothing substantive. She promised to do all the things she's failed to do while she's been in office. She basically said, listen to my words, but don't look at any of my actions. I mean, it's the most unbelievable, ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So disappointing. Donald Trump's a straight-talking guy. He's not a slick politician. He is a businessman who wants to make sure that our economy works for everybody, that our country is safe and strong, that we close the border, and that we are the United States that we know and believe in. I think he's got to get that message out. And these debates, especially if you don't have moderators who are really being objective, are okay, but they're not that productive. So it's up to the president. I just want to see him out there talking to the people of America. If he does that, he'll win.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the issues that weren't addressed. Hugh Hewitt writes on FoxNews.com that we didn't hear much about China, about the Israeli American that was murdered by Hamas, and those other 5 hostages. Nothing about is Joe Biden still capable of being president for the rest of his term? So none of that was brought up as well. Congressman Jeff Van Drew, thank you for being here. We're looking forward to seeing how this weekend plays out for you and your colleagues.
Me too.
All right.